Israel's government is officially moving to recognize the Armenian Genocide. After decades of refusing to touch the issue, Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar is leading a major push to formally acknowledge the 1915 atrocities. He's bringing a formal recognition resolution directly to the floor of the Knesset. If passed, it marks a definitive break from the Israeli government's long-standing policy of neutrality. This creates a paradox. A state forged in the immediate aftermath of the Holocaust spent the better part of a century avoiding the recognition of another state-sponsored genocide. The human reality involves the deaths of roughly 1.5 million Armenians at the hands of the Ottoman Empire. Entire communities were starved, marched into the desert, and erased. Why did Israeli leadership ignore this historical parallel for so long? And what specific fracture in the Middle East finally forced them to reverse course today? The answer is found in realpolitik. This is a diplomatic approach, where a government prioritizes practical, strategic alliances over moral or historical imperatives. The records of the Knesset show a pattern of repeated failure. In 2007, 2011, 2015, and 2018, serious recognition attempts reached the floor. Every single time, the government stepped in at the final hour to block the vote. The primary roadblock was Turkey. Because the modern Turkish state denies that a genocide occurred, Israel viewed recognition as a threat to its regional stability and its ties with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Then there is Azerbaijan. Israel relies on Baku for 40% of its oil and maintains a multi-billion-dollar weapons trade with the country. Recognizing the genocide risked losing a vital strategic partner in the Caucasus. For decades, the moral weight of the genocide was used as a political bargaining chip. Whenever tensions flared at Ankara, Israeli officials would threaten to bring the recognition bill to a vote to extract diplomatic concessions. This was the active currency of Israeli foreign policy, suppressing a historical truth to secure oil supplies and defense contracts. That decades-long equilibrium was shattered by the war in Gaza. Turkey's reaction was immediate and hostile. President Erdogan openly supported Hamas and accused Israel of committing genocide against Palestinians. Israeli-Turkish diplomatic relations effectively disintegrated. Trade was suspended, ambassadors were recalled, and the strategic cooperation that once defined the relationship vanished. With the alliance broken, Israel's geopolitical constraints dissolved. There was no longer any strategic value in protecting the sensitivities of the Turkish government. The shift reached the highest levels of power in 2025. During a podcast interview, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that he personally recognizes the Armenian Genocide, a sharp departure from his years of silence. The collapse of the Turkish alliance transformed the recognition issue. It was no longer a diplomatic liability. It had become a viable way to exert pressure on a regional adversary. This brings the resolution back to the Knesset floor, but this time it is arriving as a government mandate rather than an opposition protest. Foreign Minister Sa'ar has framed the resolution as a moral and historical obligation that's long overdue. While the moral case for recognition has been consistent for a century, the political case only became viable once the previous diplomatic incentives for silence were removed. One variable remains: Azerbaijan. Baku remains a critical partner for Israel, and they share Turkey's fierce opposition to this move. Passing this resolution risks damaging one of Israel's few remaining alliances in the region. This leaves a central question. Is this move a genuine triumph for historical truth, or is it a calculated strike to punish Turkey? In global politics, historical truths are rarely acknowledged through righteousness alone. They are often unlocked only when they finally align with the cold requirements of national strategy. Let us know your take on Israel's timing in the comments, and subscribe for more in-depth geopolitical analysis.